not sure if you recall, but last week we started reviewing one of Jesus' very famous stories that he gave us. We actually saw three stories. I'm not sure if any of y'all can remember them. I know it's been a whole week, but we did talk about three stories that Jesus spoke while he was here on earth. There were three stories, but pretty much they were all trying to tell us the same truth. They were all trying to teach us the same objective. Does anybody remember the three stories that we saw last week? Which one, Fernando? With the coin? The coin, yeah. The sun and the sheep. Very good. And all those stories were talking about how they were lost, but they were found. Now, this is a bonus question. Do you remember what book of the Bible and what chapter? What book and what chapter? Does anybody remember that? It's a very important chapter you have to memorize. Nobody? That's a bonus question. Extra credit for that one. Luke 15. Luke 15. So you got to remember that, because that's a very important chapter because it has those three stories. Now, like I said, telling stories was very common for Jesus. It was very, very common. And he did it throughout all his 3 years of ministry here on earth. Teach by telling stories. Today, we're going to see another one that is also considered one of the most important ones. It's considered one of the most potent, more powerful, a very great illustration that he used. And it's what we call a parable. A parable. We call it a parable. Now, a parable is just another way of saying it's an illustration to be able to teach a spiritual truth. That's what a parable is. A spiritual, it's an illustration of a common day life situation. Jesus, we see something that people would do. He would say that story to be able to illustrate a spiritual truth. That is what we call a parable. And today we're going to see one of the most known parables that he says. It's in Mark chapter 4. In Mark chapter 4, we're going to find one of the most important parables that Jesus taught while he was here on earth. And we're going to read from Mark chapter 4. We're going to read verses 1 through 8. And then we're going to jump to verse 13. This is what they call the parable of the sower that Jesus taught. In verse 1 it says, Mark 4:1, it says, Jesus began to teach by the lake. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he got into a boat and sat in it out on the lake, while all the people were along the shore at the water's edge. He taught them many things by parables, and in his teaching he said this: listen, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no roots. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear grain. Still, other seed fell on good soil. It came up, it grew, and produced a crop, some multiplying 30, some 60, and some 100 times. Verse 13, then Jesus said to them, don't you understand this parable? How then will you understand any parable? The farmer sows the word. Some people are like seed along the path where the word is sown. As soon as they hear it, Satan comes and takes away the word that was sown in them. Others, like seed sown on rocky places, hear the word and at once receive it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When a trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. Still others, like seed sown among thorns, they hear the word. But the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and they choke the word, making it unfruitful. Others, like seed sown on good soil, hear the word, accept it, and produce a crop. Some 30, some 60, some 100 times what was sown. Now, this is the story. That is what we call a parable. And he even, as you saw, gave an explanation of the parable. And the reason he gave this story, as you noticed, is because he has a large crowd. So big was the crowd of people gathering that he got onto a boat and went off the shore and started teaching from this boat because he had a large crowd. And then to this crowd, he tells them about this a sower that went to go plant a seed. Why did he use this story? Because those people who he's talking to are very aware. They're familiar with the planter. That's what they do in Israel. Plant seeds. They have a lot of crops, a lot of fields. So he's using a story that they are familiarized with. Maybe for us, and for you and for me, since we live in the city, we just go to the store and we just buy. But these people, they planted their seeds. They were farmers. So he's using the story of a farmer who went to plant a seed. And he says that this farmer planted the same seed, but it fell on 4 different types of soil, per se. 4 different types of soil that the seed fell in. So there's one farmer, there's one seed, but 4 different types of soil. 4 different types of soil. He mentioned all 4 of them. He mentioned the one by the path, the other one stony ground, the other one by thorns, and the 4th one was the good one. So out of the 4 soils, only one was good. Only one produced a crop, 30, 60, 100%. So out of the 4 soils, only one produced crop. The other 3, the seed was wasted. The seed never produced nothing. It never gave fruit. It never gave a crop. Only one, and that's the 4th one. So he gives them that story. They're familiarized with that, with the farmer throws the seeds, and the seeds fall in 4 different types of places. Now, that sounds like a good story, but what does it mean? What is the explanation of the story that you just gave us? Jesus, why are you telling us this? Because some people were confused. Some people were like lost. Okay, good story, but what about it? And that's where he also gives us the explanation. And we're thankful that he gives us the explanation, because if not, we wouldn't understand what the whole point of the story was. So now, the sower or the farmer, however you want to call it, is he who goes around preaching the word. It's the preacher. It's the one that's giving the word, that's throwing the word of God, that's preaching the word of God. It's he. The seed is the word. So the sower is the preacher. The seed is the word. The seed is Jesus. He is the one that we're trying people to get to love and to know him, and to fall in love with Jesus and to get to know Jesus. So the seed is the word. The seed is Jesus. And then we have the soils. Who do you think the soils represent? Us. Exactly. The soils represent you. So one of those soils represents you. You're one of those 4. Let's repeat them. What was the first one? The one by the path. The other one was with a lot of stones. The other one was thorns, and the other one was the good soil. So the 4 soils represents you. It represents me. We're one of those 4. Now today, due to the time that we only have, I'm only going to focus on one of them, because I feel like the one that we're going to focus on today is the most dangerous one. We know the 4th one is the good one. That one produces crop. That's a Christian that produces fruit. That's a Christian that's all about the Lord, living for the Lord. But there's one on there that I want us to focus on out of the top 3. The first one was the one by the path. The other one was by stones, and the other one was in the middle of a lot of thorns. And that's the one I want us to focus on. I want us to focus on the 3rd one. On the one that it says that fell by many, many thorns. verse 7. It says, other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so they did not bear any grain. So we're not going to focus on the first two. We'll leave this for a different time. The first two, those are what we call temporary. People temporary that come, they're in church for a little while. The first two represents temporary believers. They're only seasonal. They're only for a time. They don't last. The first two. So therefore, we're not going to focus on the first two, because the first one, it says that the birds come and take the seed. That means Satan. That's what he said. Satan comes and takes the word, because those people don't want anything to do with God. They don't care. They're here, but they don't. So he's telling the crowd that y'all are here, but y'all aren't interested in the things of God. Y'all are not interested in my word. So as soon as y'all leave this place, the birds, which represent Satan, he will come and he will take the word away from your heart, and your life will just continue like you've never even heard it. That's the first one. The second one is the same thing. You have no root, and so when trouble comes and when difficult times come, you back away. I don't want anything to do with this. So the first two are they're only for a season. They're here because they might have to be here. They don't want to be here. So as soon as you leave this place, the Lord says that the seed will wither away and you produce no fruit. But there's another one that's even more dangerous than those two. And that's the third one, the thorny ground. Verse 7, other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, so that they did not bear any grain. So that seed never disappears. That seed never disappears. It stays there. It grows. It grows. But when you go inspect it, when the sower, the farmer goes to inspect that plant, he realizes that it's only leaves. It has no fruit. It's just leaves. It grew up, but he didn't want leaves. The reason he sowed the seed was not for leaves. He sowed it because he wanted fruit. He wanted crops. Whatever the seed was, if it was corn, if it was carrots, if it was oranges, I don't know what the seed was. That's not the point. But the point is that when you sow a seed, it's because you want to see crop. You want to see fruit. I don't want leaves. And so this sower, he goes, he sees it growing, and then when it's time for inspection, he goes to realize this is nothing but appearance. There's no fruit. There's nothing. And so that's what Jesus is trying to tell the crowd that he has before them. He has a large crowd, and he's trying to tell them, you might be here listening to the word. You listen to the word day in and day out. You listen to the word every time I preach. Every Sunday you listen to the word. You're receptive. But there's no change. I don't see nothing in your life. I don't see no fruit. I don't see anything productive, anything. So many years. And so the point is that you go along many years in the church. You go and you're going and you're going. But you never have fruit. You never show any type of fruit. After year and year in church, and you're hearing the word, and you're listening to the word, you're receptive to the word, but you're not producing fruit. All you have is leaves. In other words, all you have is an appearance. You appear to be a Christian, but when you go inspect, and you look for the fruit of a Christian, he's like, I don't see it. I don't find it. Why? What happened? Why is that seed not producing fruit? Why? Because he says there's thorns. There's thorns. In other words, there's something wrong where? In your heart. There's thorns in your heart. There's thorns in my heart, and that if we don't get rid of those thorns, it will not allow the word to produce fruit. So the whole point of the parable is to say, examine your heart. Examine my heart. Examine. It's time to understand the problem is not with the sower. The problem is not with the seed. The problem is with the heart. The problem is right here, that where the word is coming, the seed is being planted, but your heart, my heart, is not allowing the word to sprout, to bear any fruit. And so if been in church year after year and you see no fruit in your life, no evidence, you don't have joy, peace, you don't have love, you don't have kindness, you don't have the fruit of the Spirit, you don't have fruit in your life, you can't see the evidence, you should stop for one moment and examine your heart. Something is in your heart that is preventing what? Preventing the word, the seed, from bearing fruit. So it's like a warning. It's a warning to all the people that are listening to him. Again, it says in verse 1 that there was a lot of people. There was a large crowd. So he's giving them a warning. You can be here right now listening to my word. I'm teaching you the word. Jesus is the farmer. He's teaching the word, which is the seed. But most of y'all will never see fruit in your life because there are thorns. There are thorns in your heart. There are thorns that are not allowing the seed to produce. Do you know what a seed needs to produce fruit? There's two things that a seed needs to be able to produce fruit. It needs moisture and it needs oxygen. Those are the two elements that if a seed is going to produce, it has to have adequate moisture and adequate oxygen in order to yield, to germinate, to produce. Without those two, without moisture and without oxygen, no seed will be able to produce. So what's the problem? If there's thorns, what do you think those thorns are doing? If a seed needs moisture and it needs oxygen, and this seed was planted among thorns, what are those thorns doing? Stopping it from growing by how? By doing what? By absorbing the moisture and the oxygen. So in other words, a seed and a thorn are not compatible. They cannot coexist. A seed and thorn, and if a seed is going to be able to produce fruit, the first thing you have to go do is remove the thorns, because the thorns are not going to allow the seed to produce, because it's going to be absorbing the moisture. It's going to be absorbing the oxygen. It's going to be robbing from the seed. So therefore the thorn begins to choke the seed. And so the seed is being choked. It wants to give life. It wants to sprout, but the thorn is saying, no, I'm not going to allow it. I'm going to hold you back. I'm going to steal. I'm going to rob the moisture. I'm going to rob the oxygen. And therefore, the seed is there. It's there. But obviously, they cannot coexist. They're not compatible. They're not compatible. They don't get along. They don't go together. And that is exactly what Jesus is trying to teach. Many of y'all are listening to the word, but since you have thorns in your heart, since I have thorns in my heart, I'm not seeing the fruit sprout. I'm not seeing no fruit. I'm listening to the word. I'm hearing the word, but I don't see nothing. Yes, I know about Jesus. Yes, I come to church, but my life is the same. There's no evidence. There's nothing in you that shows that you're a believer, that you love God. Why? Why is it that you come Sunday after Sunday and nothing happens to your life and you're just being the same old person? Why? Because the thorn, Jesus is saying, is robbing. It's robbing, it's stealing. It's not allowing you. It's not allowing the seed that you listen every week when you listen at home or at church. It's not allowing. So Jesus is trying to tell you. Jesus is saying these two things cannot be in your heart. You cannot have the seed and you cannot have thorns. It's impossible, he's saying. Well, it has to be one or the other. Do you want the seed or do you want thorns? Because seeds and thorns do not get along. So remember, what is the seed? Remember what the seed is? The seed is Jesus. It's him. It's his presence. It's his word. He's saying, I do not coexist with thorns. I cannot be a part of your life. If I'm just if I'm just 10% of your life, it won't work. 20% no, 50% no. I have to be you are, because if you allow the thorns in your heart, the thorns are going to rob. They're going to steal. steal. They're going to absorb. And so you're going to be listening day in, day out, and you're never going to see me flourish in your life. Christ wants to flourish in your life. Christ wants to flourish. He wants to flourish in you, to see you like a plant. He's comparing me to a plant. He wants to see this plant flourish. But he's saying you will not flourish, you will not prosper until you remove the thorns. Until you remove the thorns. In other words, the thorns are competing with the seed. That's the way I take it. The thorns are competition. They're competing against Christ. And so my heart is divided. And so therefore, since there's competition, the seed is not producing. Because there's competition. There's competition in your heart. What are these competitions? What are these things that are absorbing, stealing, robbing us from our commitment to Him? What is it? What is it what are these thorns in your heart? What are these thorns in my heart? You know, we don't have to guess because He told us. He told us what the thorns are. He told us what the thorns are. The thorns is the illustration, and then in verse 18, He tells us what they are. He tells us exactly what He means by thorns that are absorbing, that's competing with Him, that's choking the seed, that is absorbing the moisture and the oxygen that cannot coexist. What are the thorns that are competing in your heart, that are not allowing you to give fruit? That you, day in, day out, month after month, year after year, and you're still the same. What is it? He says it. Verse 18. He says, He gives you the explanation in verse 18. Others, like seed sown among thorns. What do? Number one, what's the first thing they do? They hear the word. They hear it. They're receptive. But, here's 19. The worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things come in and choke the word. Choke it. Absorb the moisture, the oxygen, making the seed unfruitful. What is it? What's choking the seed? What's the thorn? He says it right there. Worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things. Let's explain that. What does that mean? The worries. The worries of this life is anything that fills my mind or fills my heart that concerns me. We're talking about daily living when we talk about the worries of life. He is not specifically talking about sin. He's not talking specific of a sin that you're doing. No, he's going deeper into your heart. He's talking about ordinary things of life. Health, bills to pay, school, family, sports, entertainment. Those are not bad things. But if you're not careful, the everyday things of life, the worries of life, the stuff that worries us, that take our attention, our mind, everyday situations, those things, the ordinary things of life, if you're not careful, they can become a thorn in your heart. They can become a thorn in my life. And what does that mean? That it's absorbing my time that I should give to the Lord. It's absorbing it. My devotion to the Lord, I don't. In other words, I give these things, the worries, my attention, my goals, my responsibilities. Is it bad to have goals in life? It's not bad. Is it bad to have, a hobby? Absolutely not. But if you're not careful, if I am not careful, these things of life can become an idol. Does anybody know what an idol is? You know what an idol is? An idol is not just a god that people make with their hands and they hang up on the walls. Yeah, that's an idol, but that's not the only thing. An idol is anything, any place, person, or thing. Place, person, or thing that takes the place of God. Person, place, or thing that takes God's place. You put before God. If you have anything in your life that you put before God, that is an idol. You put this person, it could be a person, it could be a friend, it could be a relationship, it could be a boyfriend, it could be your girlfriend. You put her or him, you've made this person into an idol. It could be a place. You like to go to a certain place on Sundays. So therefore, I can't go to church because on Sundays, I've known people. They like to go to the fields. They like to go to the stadium, to the park. So therefore, I can't go because it's a place. Or it could be a thing, anything. In other words, anything that you put before God can become an idol. And so it's absorbing. It's stealing your time, your devotion to God. So it's absorbing. So therefore, you're here, your body's here, but my question is not, is your body here? My question would be, is your mind here right now? I see bodies Sunday after Sunday. Throughout the whole day of Sunday, we see at least about 200 people throughout the whole service. But my question is, God, out of all these people that come, how many minds are really here? How many hearts are really here? Because there's so many bodies, but I've grown to know that bodies doesn't mean anything, because right now your mind might not even be here. Your mind is probably thinking of something you're going to do. And so therefore, what's happening? The seed is being planted, but the thorn is already doing what to the word? It's robbing it. So you're not getting any benefit out of this. Because your body's here, but your mind is probably in la la land, it's probably doing this and that. So as I'm preaching, the thorn is already working. The thorn is already in action. It's not waiting for you to leave. It's already working in here. It's already working right now because it's robbing, it's stealing, it's absorbing your mind, your attention. It's being given to what you're going to do. You're listening, but you're thinking of something else. So therefore, the word, the seed, is not going to produce. Produce what? Fruit. You want to know if you have thorns in your heart? I have a good way that I examine my own heart, because I have to do self-examinations all the time. Me, I can't wait for somebody to tell me. I try to do this to my life. How do I know if I have thorns in my heart? Number one, ask yourself this question: do you have private time with God? Do you have a private devotion with God? Throughout 7 days of the week, there's 7 days, 24 hours in each day. Do you have private devotion? Or is this your only devotion? If this is your only devotion, throughout the week you have no private devotion, most likely it's because you have a thorn. During the day, do you have thoughts, heavenly thoughts? During your day, when you're at work, when you're at school, do you ever have heavenly thoughts? Do you ever think about God, His Word? Do you ever stop to acknowledge Him, to worship Him? Do you think about His Word? Do you ever stop to think, man, I remember the pastor preached this on Sunday, and it really, throughout the week, do you have heavenly thoughts? We all have physical thoughts, but my question is, do you have heavenly thoughts? Are you, has this ever happened to you? You're driving, and all of a sudden, this worship song comes on, and you start worshiping God, and you forget that you're driving, and you're talking to yourself, and you look crazy in the car because you're by yourself, but you're worshiping God in your car, in your room. Do you ever have those kind of moments? Do you ever have moments where all of a sudden it's like you're visited by God's presence? Where you're overwhelmed by His presence. And it doesn't matter who's watching, because my heart melts in His presence, and I'll start worshiping. It's while I'm driving. I remember many times while I was at work, guys will be watching me crying. What was happening with it? God, it's because I'm worshiping God's presence. Does that ever happen to you? Do you ever get overtaken by God's presence and see His glory, His greatness, His beauty, His holiness? Do you ever get overtaken by God's presence? Are you ever left in wonder and awe? Do you ever get shocked by His presence? Or do you never go? If you never have those moments throughout your week, this is the only time then you are this type of heart. He's talking about you. He's talking about you. He said, this is the kind of heart that never will get fruit, because you listen to the word day in, day out. You listen to the word, but you never have fruit because you have thorns, and these thorns are absorbing you. These thorns are stealing what I'm trying to give you. So now I gotta remove this, whatever idol, whatever thing that is robbing, that does not allow, you have to remove it. Matthew 6:33, Jesus said, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. Matthew 6:33, seek second? Seek third? No, it says seek first. What was the other thorn that He mentioned? There was another one that He mentioned. Verse 19. Deceitfulness of wealth. Wealth, riches, money. He says that deceitfulness, saying money, wealth, is deceptive. You know what the word deceptive means? Do y'all know what deceptive means? Deceptive is something that promised you something, but at the end it doesn't give it. It deceived you. It lied to you. So deceptiveness of wealth, what does that mean? It means money promises you security. Money promises you happiness. And so therefore I put my trust in what? If I'm deceptive of wealth, if I put my trust in wealth, I put my trust in material possessions rather than in God. That is deceptive of wealth. I've put my trust, my well-being is on. If I have money, I have it all. If I have money, I'm secured, I'm happy. That's what deceptiveness of wealth is. Where you're thinking and you're putting your heart, your trust in the material things of life. If I have this and if I have that, I'm fine. I got it. So he's talking about what 1 Timothy 6:10 says, the love of money. And you know what the love of money is? The love of money is the root of all evil. And it leads people away from the faith. Many people will not come to church because they got to go make money. I got to make money. Money. And Jesus said in Matthew 6:24, you cannot serve God and money at the same time. Riches. You can't serve both. That's another thorn. That's why he's saying these are thorns. The wealth, riches, money. It cannot. You can have money. Nothing wrong with having money. But what it's saying is you cannot put your trust in money. You cannot love money. You cannot serve God in money. Money cannot be a little God in your heart. Because money can become a God. If I have money, I'm happy, I'm comfortable, I have everything, money. So we take the real God out of our heart and we allow this false God called money. Money can be a false God. That's what he is trying to teach us. So in other words, you're either serving God or you're serving money. You're serving God or you're serving who? Which one do you serve? Who do you serve? Who is your God? Who is your God? You want to know how you can know this? Here's some other questions. Who is your God? God of the heavens or the God called money, the Benjamins? What makes you happier? Receiving money or having Christ in your life? What makes you happier? Getting money or having Christ? If it's money, then you're bowing down to this God called money. What are you more concerned about? Losing material goods or spiritual treasures? What's your preoccupation? What concerns you? Losing my material good, losing my car, losing my phone, losing my AirPods, or losing spiritual treasures? What concerns you more, the material or the spiritual? What is your long-term goal? Is your long-term goal having a lot of money or bearing fruit for the Lord? What is your goal? Long-term, not short-term. My long-term goal is in 5 years, I want to have $50,000. Awesome. And what about giving fruit? No, I ain't worried about that. That lets you know and lets me know that I am serving money. Money has become my God because it deceived me. It deceived me. It made me to think that as long as I have money, I'm secure and I'm happy and this is what I need. So it has deceived me. So therefore, it is robbing. It is robbing the seed from its soul. It's not allowing the fruit because you can't see how glorious it is to serve Christ. You can't see how wonderful Christ is. You can't see none of that because the wealth is deceiving you. You are deceived because I'm here to tell you today, money, riches, wealth will never make you satisfied. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the spiritual, you will be miserable. You know this. You know this. You know there's rich people that are not happy. You know this, guys. You know many rich millionaires commit suicide. And you would say like, why? They're rich, they got mansions, they got this and they got that. Because wealth deceived them. They thought at one point in their life, man, if I accumulate, if I have this and if I have that, I'll be happy, I'll be satisfied. And then they obtained it and they realized, I don't have what I thought. So they fell under the deception and so therefore they just took their lives. Because what else? I got my bank account, I got my mansions, I got my Bentleys, I got travel, I have my own jet, but I still feel empty. What is wrong? What is wrong is they fell under the deception of wealth. Wealth deceived them. But deception of wealth is not only a rich person problem, it's also a poor person problem. Even poor people fall under the deception. Even poor people. Start thinking, I just need more, I need more, I need more. And all you do is just exhaust yourself to the point where you realize, man, I got this and I got that, but I don't have, there's something missing. Well, I'm here to tell you what you're missing. You're missing what Christ is offering you. But that thorn won't let you. That thorn doesn't let you. You understood, guys? So the love of money, the love of riches blinds you to the spiritual. You don't see any benefit in the spiritual. You see none. Most of you might be thinking coming to here today is a waste of your time. Some of you might be even thinking, man, why did I even come? Because you have been deceived. You don't see the fruit, the benefit of spiritual. But money, physical, material, oh yeah, that. And you're being deceived and you're gonna open your eyes to a very, very deceitful situation. So those thorns have to come out if the fruit or the seed, is gonna give fruit. Those seeds, the seeds of the cares of this world, idols, devotion, wealth, and then he says one more thing. One more thing. What was the third thing that he said? The desires for what? What things? What things? What things did he say? What things does he say? He doesn't say it, right? He doesn't say it. He just says other. He leaves it open. Because anything you put before God is the other thing. That's why he leaves it open. The desires of other. What other? Anything. Wealth, riches. If I left something out, I'm going to tell you anything, your achievements, your possession, anything that competes with the Lord, anything. Anything that you're not willing to let go. Anything that I'm not willing to let go, that has become a thorn in your life. And that thorn is doing what? What is that thorn doing? Robbing you. It's robbing you. It's sucking the life out of the seed, out of the water. Anything. And so if you want the seed to give fruit, if I want the seed to give fruit, what do you have to do? Take out that thorn. Pastor, how do I take out that thorn? Start by surrendering to Christ. Surrender to him. Surrender. Give him today the title of your life. You know your car has a title. Your house has the deed. Say, God, I give you the deed of my life. I give it to you. I no longer live, but Christ liveth in me. And all these things are competing, that are trying to rob me, guard me, protect me from these thorns. I've been walking with the Lord almost over 20 years. Thorns still try to come in my heart. It's not something that just I took away last 5 years ago and then I'm clean. No, you always have to continuously be keeping the soil clean. Because if you don't, it doesn't matter if I'm a pastor. You think thorns respect me because I'm a pastor? Thorns don't care. If I'm not continuously cleaning my soil, even I run the risk of allowing thorns to come out. And I can become an unfruitful Christian. So this about cleaning is not a one-time event that I do 10 years ago. It's something you do continuously. Continuously. Is anybody here a planter? Does anybody know about? If you're a planter, you know agriculture, you know what I'm talking about. In order for the seed to produce, you always have to be cleaning. So therefore, I think one of the most important things that you and I can do is clean our hearts. Do what I would call a self-examination. Right now, examine, reflect. Is there something right now competing with God? Do you have something right now? Examine, reflect. Do you have something that's competing with your relationship with God? And if you do, surrender it. Give it to God today. And make him your priority. Because you don't want to just have leaves. You want to have fruit. Leaves is not what he's seeking. He is seeking fruit.